in an age cohort that had up between 50 and 60 kids, they produced 19 full-time ministers in the church. In America and abroad. 19, do the math. It's about 30%. A third. They prayed for a tenth, and God fulfilled them, and God used them to expand thrice what they had prayed for. And that's just one generation. I haven't been able to compile all the statistics of the next generation. I'm a member of that next generation. I'm the daughter, or I'm the son of one of those women's daughters in my secret life. And don't tell my secret.
No cameras down.
Yeah, right. I'm the grandchild of one of those two women. One of my cousins is the director of what's called HCJB, or HCJB Radio, which is the Christian radio station for all of the Southern Hemisphere, south of the equator in the Western Hemisphere. Christian radio station. His father, one of my uncles, was a missionary to Ecuador for about 25 years. I have cousins who have been pastors' wives, and this is just out of one of those families. Just one of those families. Two women praying to tithe their children in a tiny little rural congregation. 12 men in a room. 2 women in a rural church. It wasn't their idea. It wasn't the disciples' idea. They were filled with the Holy Spirit. It wasn't these 2 women. It wasn't their idea. It was the infusion of the Holy Spirit. They had already had Jesus' call in their lives. They had already had God's call. But the Holy Spirit put a very specific fire in their heart, a very specific calling into their belly. And they carried it out. And it impacted the world. 2 women in a rural congregation out in the middle of some wheat field changed the world. If you think that we are in the business of anything other than changing the world, you are wrong. If you think that we are in the business of going to church, you are wrong. If you have anything less than the very highest pinnacle in mind, you're aiming too low. We have been called, folks. We are here for a reason. We are here for a reason. We are here to change the world. We are here to bring the world into relationship with God. This group, this few people. I'm here for 2 purposes. I'm your servant leader. What does that mean? As your leader, my job is just to lay that mission out there. This is, as a collective, what we are called to. To bring the world into relationship with God. That's leadership. My job as your servant is to call out of you and to push you and to challenge you and to call out of you how is the Holy Spirit calling you specifically to tap into that greater vision. Because what you're good at is different from what you're good at, is different from what you're good at, is different from what you're good at, what you're good at, what you feel called to do, what moves you. Every one of us is different. Folks, we're here to change the world, nothing less. If you want to go to church, find another church. I know it's hardcore. I know it's not a nice thing to say. We're here to do some work. We are here fundamentally to look out at the end of our lives and say, is that me out there? Or is that the world that I'm called to serve? So if it's you out there, I challenge you. And here's my challenge. Simply this. You're going to be unhappy for the rest of your life. You'll have some happinesses, but you will be unfulfilled. As long as your life, and you and yours, is your end goal, and your ultimate striving, you will always be unfulfilled. You'll always be longing for more. You'll always be thirsting. You'll always have anxiety until it becomes something bigger than yourself. Until High Point Community Church becomes something bigger than just us. Until our vision is turned outward. And what we got to do to change the world, what we got to do to bring the world into relationship with God, until that happens, we're just playing church. Until your orientation becomes the God at the center of the universe and the people that Jesus has called us to serve, until that becomes your orientation, you will be unfulfilled. I guarantee you that. Because I say so? No, because it's a fact of life. You'll be striving, and you'll be striving, and you'll be striving. You'll be like you're spinning your wheels. Why aren't I accomplishing? Why aren't I happy? Why do I have so much anxiety? And I know some of you think I'm speaking to you individually. I'm not. I'm speaking to you as a group. I'm speaking to all of you. I've had plenty of conversations with most of the people in this group. Individual levels. I know every one of us, or most in this room, are going through their own version of hell right now. It's heavy stuff. Not just one or two of you. I know one or two of you are going to think during the week, oh, you were preaching me, weren't you, Pastor? No. I'm preaching to almost everybody in this room. Every one of us has our own version of hell that we go through. But the capacity to walk through hell, the capacity to not just endure, but to move through it, the capacity to almost be unaffected by the hell that we go through each day in our own forms is almost completely wiped away when we are oriented to something greater than ourselves. And I don't mean just our own families. Until you are oriented to that call of God in your life, until you choose obedience to that call, choose it. And this isn't some obligation I'm putting on you. You have to. It's just choice. The disciples chose it. It was a choice. The Holy Spirit was in them, and it had possessed them. And the truth is, the Holy Spirit is waiting to come into you. Or maybe the Holy Spirit is in a little bit to begin with. Revelation 3:20, behold, I stand at the door and knock. Any man who would open the door, I will come into him, and I will dine with him. I'm going to tell you something silly, even corny, by sort of some of our standards. I was about 10 or 12 years old. A few of you have heard this story before. I was about 10 or 12 years old, and I had come back from church camp. I was a member of a very conservative, charismatic Lutheran, charismatic as Lutherans will be, I guess, congregation in suburban Minneapolis. And our church camp experience was very much a very intense indoctrination, lots of singing, lots of praying, lots of fun. It was a neat experience, but it was very powerful. I mean, they did their work. And I came back from that experience, and you got to understand, as the youngest of 6 kids in this particular preacher's home, I had older siblings who, we all loved that church, and we had people we loved and so on and so forth, but there was always this air of sort of 70s-ish skepticism among my siblings, and that trickled down onto me, so I always lived in this tension of loving the church, but always sort of this skepticism. When I came back from this experience, church camp, and I was in our backyard, which was quite sizable, and I recall that the tree that we used for third base, I was overstanding by that tree. It's a true story. And they had always set up at camp. In my skepticism, I thought to some degree that some of the Christians were just a bit overboard and they're kind of cheesy. But there was something about it. There was something about that community, and there was something about the passion that they had and the fire that they had. And so I